So let's get started into this week's wrap up. Now, the stocks we're looking at here are, we're going to look at quickly OPTT, which we covered in the chat room, which was a really big winner for our members, and UUUU. So that's our uranium play. We'll get into that in a second. To begin with, let's look at the S&P 500. As you remember last week, let me bring this up. What date was that? So 31st or Monday, roughly. Or well, 31st. So yeah, the video last week was somewhere in around here. We were looking at this close on Friday. Now, what we were seeing here is the potential for this thing to continue with the momentum higher, and the reason is that there were, basically be stop loss orders sitting here from people who were short back here. Remember we were saying about that, and what usually happens is stops tend to get ran in trending markets, and that's what helps the momentum flow much higher. Now, we were starting to look like we were breaking down on the intradays and, starting to show a little bit of bearish divergence. However, the bulls took over and, just continued on higher, stopping out everyone who was short and heading higher again, looking like it's going to potentially head up to the 293 area here before we see any sort of potential sort of slowdown. Let's see if we can draw it in. So what we could see probably next week is a high chance of just going up, possibly resting here, and possibly pulling back. How big of a pullback? I would say roughly a Fibonacci area. So if we take a quick look from the last swing low to high, we could come back into this area. So we could see price start to head lower back into here, and then that's where we could see price do something a little bit different, where we start to trend higher towards the 3,000. Now that's in my own head is a decent probability, and one of the most likely. Why? Because this will be seen as an area of resistance, and anyone who's been long on this and hasn't taken profits yet will probably look to take profits here, and anyone who has missed the run will be looking to buy roughly in this area here. Now, it's one of those things where there's going to be a lot of stops clustered in around 2945 to 295 area, and that's what could charge us all the way to 3,000. Now, if that's the case, then what we could see is, we could trigger these stops and just have a couple of monster candles higher, and then possibly, this is the less likely, but still a possibility. So we come up here, form a candle that sort of rejects, pops higher and then rejects here. That's possibly something we could see, and that could cause quite a large sell-off if this area gets rejected quite strongly. We could see a trend down, and probably set a lower high here, and then start to trend down lower. That's just an idea as to what could happen as well. Now, there's no way of actually knowing exactly how these work out, just probability, and how do we gain that probability is through past performance and past, seeing how things have reacted before. So the most likely one, like I mentioned a minute ago, is probably pop higher and then a pullback. The second likely option is, there's a lot of stop loss orders not far away, similar to what we've seen here, where we could see, price could just pop higher and then start to reject, and, things happen that way. Apart from that, UVXY, I have no real interest in that this week. Oil, surprisingly strong. That's probably that, and the correlation between the S&P 500 sometimes is strong, sometimes is non-existent. but this sell-off here was correlated to the S&P last year, so they seem to be in lockstep at the minute with the slightly longer term, or sort of short to long term price action and the way the price is rising here. So that's interesting to see. Lithium, nice pullback, and this is like a nice Fibonacci. I'd say it's a 0.5, 0.618. It's exactly a 0.618 pullback. So yeah, very nice setup here on this lithium ETF. Very good for the lithium stocks that we have selected on our watch list. Those are starting to react quite nicely now as well. Now, going into Bitcoin, this week we've seen a very nice pop higher, and it's not something to get overly excited about, but it's nothing to snub your nose at either. Reason being is there's a lot of volume coming in over this past couple of days with this breakout. It's the highest volume we've seen since February of 2018. Now that volume was a combination of short covering and dip buyers. This volume is mostly, I would say, mostly buying, not short covering. You will have obviously shorts here and here, etc., and all the rest of it. But that's a good amount of buying, I would assume. And yeah, it's one to keep a very close eye on now. I'm not out of the camp of where we can see these lows or even these lows. This could be just a trap for anyone who's overly bullish. You know, we did reject this 5k level really strongly. It has acted as resistance in the past. So we popped up here in September of 2017. I wouldn't be surprised to see price fall from here and probably head back to the 4100 area before any sort of bullish trend is more or less confirmed. Now that's a big retrace. Now we might not even have that. Could just have a quick pop higher and then a pullback. Again, still it's more bullish price action, but I'm not overly bullish right now. As I said in the group, the TMT group, it's just one to keep a very close eye on. It's going to create a lot of trading opportunities going forward, I think. Now, so that's really good to see. Same with Ripple and all the other altcoins. You know, this is a massive accumulation sort of coin. Quite a few of them, the likes of Basic Attention Token, which actually I'll go over very quickly. So BAT again started to lead the charge actually before Bitcoin, which is really cool and interesting to see. This is a crypto I really like because they have the Brave browser, and I like the Brave browser because it's up to date. It's very crypto centric. It's private. You're not getting bombarded with all these spam ads that you go on the websites with that tends to block them all, which is fantastic. So that's one of the main reasons I like it. And you know, another thing I like about the Brave idea is the fact that you can actually gift people BAT tokens, which is pretty cool. So if someone has it set up on their website or on their YouTube channel, stuff like that there, you can gift them BAT if you like their content, and it's fantastic. So anyway, back to what we're seeing here. Moving on to gold. We pretty much pretty much called this really well, surprisingly well, and it wasn't one I was thinking I was going to actually reject it that well. A few weeks ago actually, or was it? Oh, sorry, back in February. Posted in the TMT group. This massive long-term downward sloping trend line. It was rejecting, or had put in one candle to reject it, and that's when I had posted that we could see a drop from this area, and we just dropped significantly, pulled back higher. A couple of weeks ago I was highlighting this could be an area for a potential right shoulder formation on a potential head and shoulders pattern. We are seeing that pattern quite clearly now. It has the way I play them is that would have been my entry, and I probably wouldn't hold out for the pattern confirmation. So for the pattern to be fully confirmed, it would need to be a 1-to-1 pattern distance. So I'll take you roughly to be here. We need to break the neckline. So the neckline would be here. A break of this neckline could open the downside probabilities roughly to 1240 area in order for the pattern to play out, if not a bit lower. So it's one of those things to work out. If I wouldn't be taking the trade short now. I take the trades short on a head and shoulders right as the shoulder is forming, not afterwards. A lot of people like to wait until the break and retest of the neckline, that's fair enough, but not how I do it. So yeah, one of the ones to keep a very close eye on and see how things go on from this point forward. Moving on quickly to a market which we're starting to cover slightly, which is uranium. Quite a few uranium stocks are starting to break out. We have a nice downward sloping trend line here, very coiled on this ETF. So we are seeing the likes of UU. Let me bring up the. We can see here in the daily it's quite nice, and if we bring up the weekly, look at the volume here, look at the price action and the volume. A really nice combination of what's potentially happening and what we could see. So bit of a bullish flag here coming off the bottom on this weekly chart, starting to break out above this bullish flag. So we've sort of trended throughout the whole 2018. Now we're finally starting to break above that, and it opens the floodgates to higher prices. Now it doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen, absolutely not. Other things could play here. There's a whole lot of other variables, but on a technical perspective, this is looking pretty good. So yeah, a few like UU and a few other uranium plays that we have in our stocks and our watch list are starting to react quite well, and some we're going to start continuing to add to going forward. Very quickly, let's go on to OPTT, probably one of the trades of the week, day trades of the week, taken by our members. Let's see. So here's one of them. This was taken, in hindsight, yeah, I was warning that these moves don't last very long, but it's a good day trade if it was to be taken. So yeah, not a bad. I said not a bad idea to lock some in along the way. So if we drop down into the 4 hour, drop down a wee bit further actually. So this person was long, what, 680 roughly. 680. So this is pre-market. So you don't see the pre-market data here, but on the broker you can trade pre-market. And yeah, this thing went all the way up to 9s. I think they sold. They traded this quite a few times and done really, really well on it. And it was one of the things I was warning against, not the swing trade, because it's one of these types of stocks where it just doesn't hold its gains whatsoever. And as we can see here, I think they've done an offering the next day or two, and that's the reason why it collapsed and gapped down so heavily. So it gapped down from the close of $7-ish and opened down here roughly $3, which is a huge loss. Of anyone who couldn't trade aftermarket or pre-market, they would have got caught in that and had probably a rather large loss. Now, that's one of the things you sort of need to be aware of. There's risks to some of these stocks like this, and why I sort of preach risk management within our courses and everything. So yeah, apart from that, really interesting week. Hope you enjoyed this video. It went on quite a bit longer than what you usually do, but yeah, really a lot of action here within Bitcoin, Ripple, gold, uranium, and even the S&P 500. Really interesting week. Volatility is starting to come back, which is quite good across the board. So yeah, plenty of opportunities, and yeah, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next one. And also catch us in our newsletter this week. If you haven't already subscribed, go to our website and subscribe there, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.